First of all, just thanks very much for the opportunity for Ceartas to come along to today's conference and to give you an overview about the work that we do in Eastern Bartonshire in Scotland. My name's Sharon Bearden and I'm the Services Manager with Ceartas. I've worked with Ceartas for the last 13 years, and prior to this my role was user involvement with adults with learning disabilities. With me today in the audience is Patricia Ovens, who's our finance manager. Patricia will be co-facilitating this afternoon's workshop with me, and any difficult questions at the end of this around funding or finance, I'll be directing towards Tricia. So Ceartas, what does Ceartas mean? Ceartas is a Gaelic word for fairness, equality and justice. And this is the name that the organisation chose because it represents the underlying ethos of the work that we do. We provide independent advocacy for adults over the age of 16 who live in Eastern Bartonshire. Prior to 2004, we were managed by Alzheimer's Scotland, and we were fondly known as the Alzheimer's Scotland, Strathkelvin and North Glasgow Advocacy Service. And if you ever try answering the phone saying that, good luck to whoever's on the other end. And at that point, we worked solely with people with dementia. With the introduction of the Mental Health Care and Treatment Act in Scotland in 2003, and the legal right for adults to access independent advocacy, the Scottish Executive gave guidance that all advocacy services should be independent from service providers. And so we began the move away from Alzheimer's Scotland, who were a major service provider for people with dementia. And in 2004, Ceartas was established, taking on the role of providing advocacy for people with dementia and older people across the whole of Eastern Bartonshire. In 2008, following a competitive tendering process, we took on responsibility for advocacy for a further 6 client groups. And in 2013, following our service review, we were awarded the contract for another 2 groups. So currently, we work with older people, people with dementia, learning disability, physical disability, autism spectrum disorders, mental health, additional communication support needs, sensory impairment, acquired brain injury and addictions. Traditionally, Ceartas, as with many advocacy services, was offered to individuals on an issues-based approach, and we tended to work with people through a particular issue, close the case and move on. There was often very little further contact with the individuals that we worked with unless a further crisis occurred in their lives. Access to the service at this time was very much determined by professionals who made the decision as to when to involve advocacy, and the majority of our referrals at that point came through health and social work. This, for us, I think, created a sort of skewed perception of the advocacy role. We were often seen as troublemakers who were sort of parachuted in at a point of crisis. This led to frustration not only for the advocacy staff, but also for our service users and for their carers, who were kind of left thinking, what was the point of that? Decisions had quite often been made at that point, and we felt it was very much a sort of tick box exercise in terms of involving advocacy. We were keen to move away from the sort of transactional model of advocacy to something a wee bit more collaborative. We wanted to increase access to the service to as many members of the community as we possibly could, and to ensure that individuals were given the opportunity to have access to advocacy at a time that suited them and not be reliant on professionals as gatekeepers. There was a real desire to break down as many barriers to the service as possible, to build up connections with our service users, which led to us developing our Roots into Advocacy approach. Breaking down the barriers can be difficult and it can be challenging, but it's not impossible. People are often reluctant to engage with yet another service, sometimes fearing that we're just part of the system. And that's especially the case when it's social work, a nurse, a doctor, somebody else making that referral, deciding when you should use advocacy. Advocacy itself can be an off-putting term. It conjures up pictures of officialdom and legal systems. And we recognised that there was a need to engage and to reach out to individuals in a less threatening and more informal manner, and to offer people something just a wee bit different. This began with our cafe model, and that started in September 2005 with DCAF. And DCAF's a dementia cafe for people with dementia and their carers. It offers peer support, information about the condition and community supports, as well as accessing advocacy at a time out with a crisis and within an informal setting. DCAF began with 10 people in the local guide hall in Kirkintilloch. Now it sees over 30 members a month attending this group. And we've expanded it out to 3 other areas within East Dunbartonshire, and we're now reaching approximately 100 people with dementia and their carers each month. As a result of attending DCAF, members have accessed advocacy support in relation to setting up powers of attorney, accessing supports in the community, and challenging decisions about care packages. Following the success of DCAF, other client groups expressed an interest in this model, citing isolation, a lack of information about supports, services and the rights as some of the main barriers of their condition. DCAF was followed by Abbey Cafe, a cafe for people with acquired brain injury, in 2011, and in 2013 Aspire was set up, and that's for individuals in the autism spectrum. The cafe model provides a forum for people to come together, to share experiences and to get information, but it also allows our team to introduce advocacy to people in a relaxed and informal environment, with staff able to identify areas where advocacy might be of assistance through conversation with folk at the cafes. The expansion of our cafe model was driven by people who use our service, who wanted to make sure that people, as many people as possible, knew about advocacy and about the positive impact that it can have on the lives of individuals. As our client group had expanded and the numbers of people benefiting from advocacy increased, we recognised that this was a prime time to look at how people who use their service could start to become involved in influencing the decisions, the design and the delivery of Ceartas. And with input at this point from just 3 service users in 2010, Still Game was established. Initially, the group was supported by myself and one of the advocacy team. However, as membership grew and more people expressed their interest in becoming involved, our board demonstrated their commitment to user involvement by appointing an involvement worker to develop Still Game and other service user involvement opportunities. The group now meets once a month. There's over 20 people in attendance each month. They look at what's happening within Ceartas, give input into service development. For example, they're involved in our business planning approach through using paths. They've designed our service user evaluation tools. They have a say in the design and delivery of publicity materials and raising awareness of the service. Some of the members have also undertaken further training themselves and are giving presentations to other agencies about the impact that advocacy's had in their lives. While a representative from the board sits on Still Game and provides a link between the group and the board, we were keen to look at how we could develop user involvement in a more robust manner within our board. Consultation with members of Still Game showed at that time there wasn't a real wish for people to sit on our board, to become board members or to go to our board meetings. For us, it would have been easy to tick a box and co-opt a service user to sit on the board and to say, that's it, we've achieved service user involvement, we've done it, aren't we great? For service user involvement to work and to be meaningful, there needs to be a recognition that this is done at the pace and the wishes of people who use our service. And so we set up our service user forum in 2014, and that has got 10 service user representatives across our client group who are supported by the involvement worker and our chief exec and a representative from the board. The agenda follows the same agenda as the board's agenda. They provide an opportunity to feed in directly to the decision-making process within Ceartas. And so far they've looked at our operational plan, they've looked at contract compliance as our new contract came into force 2 years ago. They've looked at recruitment opportunities, and they're currently looking at what support they as a group need to develop their roles further in chairing meetings, becoming office bearers and looking at their involvement on the board. It is our vision that one day we will have service user representation on the board, but this will be done at the pace and the wishes of the people who use our service. As well as internal involvement opportunities, we also facilitate a number of groups that provide people the opportunity to influence change in their wider communities. People who use services are also citizens of our community. They're affected by decisions that are made locally and nationally. They've got the same rights, the same dreams and the same hopes as everybody else, and therefore they've got the same right to be informed and involved at every level. To meet this need, we've got our Adult Support and Protection Consultation Group. Not the best of names at the moment, but it's run in partnership with East and Bartonshire Council. Members of this group feed into at a strategic level to the Adult Support and Protection Committee, and have looked at issues around raising awareness about the legislation, procedures under that legislation, and they've met with the committee to tell them what works well and what could be improved. And as a result, they've been involved in designing and endorsing a good practice guide for social workers around case conferences and looking at what helps service users and carers becoming better involved in the process when the legislation is enforced. Ceartas Dementia Voices is a group for people living with dementia in East and Bartonshire, and they've got the opportunity to discuss specific issues or concerns that they may face and have their views and opinions on local issues and services voiced. The group is aimed primarily at people who have a dementia, but we also recognise the vital role that family, friends and carers play, and those who support an individual are welcome to come along and feed into that process as well, and to help encourage the person they support to participate. Already the group have had impact on a new dementia website which has been launched in the next week across East and Bartonshire, looking at support services for people with dementia in the community, as well as being involved in developing and designing a school information pack aiming to raise awareness of dementia issues with younger people. One of our newest groups is called Changes, and this was set up this year in response to service user demand. It's collective advocacy, and it's looking at wider issues across East and Bartonshire, such as health, social care, policing, transport and community safety. The group recently took part in a Scottish executive consultation looking at a fairer Scotland, and were able to feed in their views on what matters most to them and what needs to change to make Scotland a fairer place to live. And we're currently in discussions with the local Voluntary Action Association around involving service users in the current health and social care integration. In 2011, we set up our Link Work programme, and this was aimed to address the gap in advocacy provision for residents in care homes and long-stay hospitals. Often when people move into care or into hospital, their access to community-based services becomes further limited, and many people didn't have anyone to offer independent support through review and support planning processes. The Link Work provides a named point of contact from Ceartas, who maintains a link with the service by visiting on a regular basis, talking with residents, staff, carers, patients, informing them of the role of advocacy and providing input into staff training and to relatives meetings. And at present, we currently provide link work to 3 elderly dementia care homes, 1 neurological care home, 3 elderly daycare centres, 1 learning disability unit and 1 mental health inpatient unit. And advocacy input through the Link Work programme has been provided through care home reviews, through complaints, access to services, getting people out of the care homes into their community and using services in their local communities, as well as around the sort of legislation issues for those subject to adult support and protection or mental health legislation. But in order to maximise opportunities for people to become involved and to increase awareness of the role of advocacy, we can't work alone, we can't work in silos. We need to be able to work in partnership with other agencies to get the message out there. And for us, it also helps debunk some of the myths that there are about advocacy at this, that professionals may hold. We've got a number of successful partnerships. We've got Opal, which is the Older People's Access Line, and this is run by ourselves and 3 other local partner agencies. It provides information and signposting and direct referrals for older people to local supports. The call handlers are all based locally within East Dunbartonshire. They work in the area, they know what supports are out there. They take the call, they follow the information inquiry through from that initial call to the introduction of the service, and then to follow up to make sure that the person's satisfied with the support that they're getting. And also where there are issues or where there are complaints, the referrals are made on to the advocacy service. We're currently rolling that out to all client groups across East Dunbartonshire, which will provide its own challenges. We've also got the East Dunbartonshire Dementia Network, which is a partnership between ourselves, between the third sector, the local authority and the health board. It's a dedicated group which acts as a resource for people with dementia, their families and carers, and those with an interest in dementia-related issues. And it aims to shape local services by listening and responding to the views and opinions, providing accessible information, raising awareness of services and identifying gaps in local services, working together to find solutions and influencing change. The Shine Partnership. Shine Partnership is a Scotland-wide partnership which aims to increase the uptake of self-directed support across Scotland. It combines sport and classroom activities in partnership with key sports clubs. Shine has been involving, including in raising awareness of self-directed support, community-based services and advocacy throughout Scotland. And this has probably been one of the most innovative and successful partnerships to date. And interest has grown as more people find out and they want to get involved. To date, we have worked with Clyde Football Club, Falkirk, Kilmarnock, Stenhousemuir Cricket Club and Murrayfield Wanderers at rugby. Nate, forgive me, the sports stuff goes over my head. Sports questions will also be directed to Tricia. I can't offend anybody. The Shine Partnership's key mission is to equip people to understand their rights within the new self-directed support legislation, become well informed, find their voice and become active participants in implementing self-direct support across Scotland. They do this through delivering presentations, workshops throughout Scotland and developing materials to inform others about SDS, all with the help of people who use the services. We recently launched a short DVD which highlights the benefit of the programme.
It's been really enjoyable.
Have fun.
I've absolutely loved it. What I've enjoyed about it is working with the lads and that. So.
Engaging with other people.
Meet new peoples.
The camaraderie, the scoring of goals.
Like the training and playing football.
Pick your own choices.
Take control of their lives and exercise a choice in their lives.
Getting outside and exercising.
Getting out and meeting Barry Ferguson.
All in all, I've loved every minute of it. Get On Side is an attempt to help particularly young people using mental health services to think about choice, control, decision making and to use football as a hook to get people interested in that.
For us it's about informing people about self-directed support, but it's also about what makes a good life and working with people, talking about decision making, teamwork and also advocacy as well.
Basically the Get On Side programme really is a case of two halves. So the first half, the participants are in a classroom setting and we'll look at things like confidence building, communication skills, and we'll talk about some of the government initiatives about helping people to lead a good life. The second half is basically the participants go on the pitch, and what they do is we replicate some of the things we've been looking at in the first half on the football pitch. So we'll use football drills which are about decision making, football drills about communication skills. So rather than sitting in a room listening to a guy with a suit for 2 hours, the kind of catch is they go on a pitch with people like Barry Ferguson.
It's the first time I've ever done anything like this, and I get so much satisfaction out of it, and so do the guys as well. You see the difference it makes to them.
First week, a bit apprehensive. They were probably wondering what was included and what we were actually doing, but as you can see, they're quite happily playing away on the pitch now.
Well, there's primarily the people that we've invited to come on board are people that were not really getting a lot of support, so we initially identified some of those guys to try and give them something else out with their kind of ongoing supports that they were getting, to get the opportunity to try something different. The guys come together as a team and just be natural connections, and about now when they're in the street they'll look out for each other, and how the connections I've made even within the community.
Alicia, she was one of the first people that I thought about that would benefit from it, because she loves football, and I thought that the confidence building thing would have been really good. It has turned out to be really good for Alicia.
The best thing is letting Ross get a lot of information about what he can do with his money, instead of spending it in different things. He can do different things with it, go on holidays, and it's been quite good, and Ross himself has said it was been quite good as well.
For somebody like Ross to come with something like this, he comes out the wheelchair and he loves being in goals, and we put him in goals, and just his carer was saying the difference it makes to Ross, because like a perception he's seen Ross that he can't do things like that. Now the difference we've made to Ross, where he's been allowed to come out his wheelchair, lie across the goal and get involved with all the guys. It must be an unbelievable feeling for Ross, but for us as well, just seeing the difference it makes to him it's great.
I have enjoyed it.
If you could come and see what it means to these boys getting out onto the pitch, just the happiness it brings them, and for those couple of hours every Thursday, I've certainly looked forward to it, so I don't know how much excitement they've had.
It's a good opportunity because you can get to do something that you like, you get to relax and you get to work together.
I've learned about teamwork and a few other things that matter to me, so I'll take away quite a lot.
My overriding best part is when Douglas scores a goal. It's as if the stadium's full and he's running to celebrate with him. You can't buy that kind of fun.
Yeah, so get on it, I think it's great to see. One thing, certainly myself and the players and the board of directors at the club were really keen to get the local community involved.
100% get involved in it. Any message to anybody that's thinking of doing it, do it.
Of course, all of this isn't achieved overnight. The people that we work with often come to us at times of a crisis in their life. They've spent much of their lives feeling marginalised and powerless. Time needs to be spent with individuals building up their confidence to ensure that they're given every opportunity possible to be involved as much as they want to be. Power, Voice and Choice is a role and programme that's offered by Ceartas, aiming to get people talking about their lives, their experiences, what matters and what they think needs to change. Anybody can feel disempowered, anybody can feel that their life has been ruled by forces out with their control. Anyone can experience difficulties which make them doubt themselves and their capabilities, make them feel less valuable and feel as if they've got nothing to contribute to society. Power, Voice and Choice helps to build up this by aiming to ensure that individuals have got increased confidence and are more likely to take on new opportunities. They feel valued, their opinions are respected, they can communicate better with others and can express their views. They can work together as a team and gain new opportunities for positive social interaction. Underlying all the approaches that I've talked about is a commitment to maintain and develop relationships with existing service users, to raise awareness of advocacy to those who have never heard of it before, and to ensure that our service delivery, design and development continues to be influenced by those with lived experience. Since developing this approach to our work, we've seen the number of self-referrals grow to match those of professional referrals. People are finding out about us from folk who've already used the service. People are re-referring themselves for advocacy when they need it. There's less reliance now on professional gatekeeping. Service users have increased in confidence, have gone on to give presentations and make films about their story and the impact of advocacy on their lives. Some are going on to take further training to become trainers themselves. Routes into advocacy, though, isn't just about increasing our referral rates. It's about ensuring that people have got the access to the information and to the supports that they need to help them make informed choices, to participate in decision making and to empower them to self-advocate where and when they're able to do, while knowing that they can always come back and access independent advocacy to assist them with this at a time that suits them. And to do this, we need to build up those relationships and we need to break down the barriers that are in place. Earlier this year, our user involvement work won an award at the Mental Welfare Commission's Principles into Practice event. The workshop at the event was led and facilitated by people who use Ceartas services, many of whom have never spoken out before, let alone give a presentation. If advocacy is about giving a voice to some of the most marginalised groups in the community, then as advocacy providers we can't be complacent. We can't sit back and depend on the gatekeepers to point people in our direction. We need to continually seek out creative ways to engage with people, especially those who don't engage or participate. Lived experience is important, and people who use services are the experts in their lives. As advocacy providers, we need to have a passion and a commitment to work alongside people to empower, to enable them to believe in themselves and to feel that their views and their voice are just as valid and as important as those who seem to have the most power. Ceartas, through the lived experience of service users and the knowledge of its staff, will continue to defend the right to independent advocacy and to work to ensure that there's consistency and continuity of service regardless of circumstances, so that people, your mum, your dad, your wife, your husband, your partner, your brother, sister, daughter, son, are not left out. This isn't about grey suits, it's not about tenders and contracts, it's about giving people a voice when they need it, and it's not just about those folk, it could be me, it could be you. It's about the mother who sleptwalked on a holiday, walked out of an open window, fell off the balcony and now has an acquired brain injury. It's a staff nurse who thought she had an ear infection but was admitted to hospital and diagnosed with MS. The welder who in their 30s was diagnosed with epilepsy. The policeman admitted to hospital for a routine op and had a stroke. All of those folk faced situations where circumstances made them vulnerable and that they required independent advocacy. Life isn't straightforward. At times we all need help, and I am and other members of our team are proud to be a part of a journey giving people voice and a choice. And that's me.